right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Blindside Blitz. I'm Jim McFee, and right there is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Blitz Nation? Welcome back yet again. We're going to dive into this crazy world we live in the NFL pretty soon. But before we do so, we have a very special guest among us, none other than JC, the fantasy football aficionado that he is. Welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, y'all, man? I'm grateful that you guys asked me to be on. I know Iggy was on here before, so it's an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a crazy season so far in the NFL, all over the place. Some teams are up one week, the next week they're down. It's got to be hell to play fantasy football this year. I'm glad I'm out because right now I would be on some serious therapy right now.
Yeah, it's been a wild year, man. I think we were kind of talking about it a little bit before we came on here, but I was kind of saying this is kind of the craziest year I think I've seen since obviously the COVID years. But yeah, this might be the craziest normal year we've had so far. I mean, injuries have been unbelievable, and we're seeing some crazy stuff from players that we might have not expected too. So that's always fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely chaotic. Absolutely chaotic. And you talk about injuries. It's been insane to the membrane since week one. We were losing key starters all the way up to this point, and people are struggling right now.
Yeah, man, I'm going to tell you right now, was one of the guys I was riding with. He was one of my guys who I said was going to be finishing probably top 3 this year if he stayed in. I had him hitting close to 50 touchdowns. If he would have been healthy this year, I think he could have hit that landmark. But, injury bug got him.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Joe Burrow. Now, a lot of people are in the same seat that you were. What was the, transition that you made? Was there a quarterback available that you could pick up that kind of like alleviated that loss for you?
Yep. Drake May was out there, and he was somebody that kind of flashed last year a little bit here and there. Obviously had some growing pains. I kind of see a little bit of Josh Allen in him. He's kind of like that guy who's going to have, he had 3 kind of years that he's struggling. All of a sudden, boom, he's smashed. And now he's that top guy. I feel like Drake May can kind of develop into that guy by next year. This year, man, he's looked very well. And he doesn't have top offensive weapons, right? He's got a rookie back in the backfield, and you got the guy who fumbled the most fumbles in the NFL last year back there as well. And then you got a couple of guys who've just been, random rookies, and then younger guys that haven't developed yet, and all of a sudden here we got Kayshon Boutte, who hasn't done anything in a while, and all of a sudden he's blowing up. It's fun to see some of these players kind of show out. Hunter Henry's been there to help him, and I don't know, it's he's awesome, and I would highly recommend if this is Dynasty, I would go out. He's somebody I would be definitely targeting. He's great.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about like guys like Drake May, who maybe for most people maybe weren't really thinking about Drake May early on or taking him to be their starter, but now you have a lot of people really interested. If he's not already on a roster, if he's available, you need to snatch him up. But talk to me about some fantasy sleepers that you have in mind. I mean, for a lot of teams that have suffered these injuries up to this point and are still looking for help, what are some fantasy sleepers that come to mind?
There's probably somebody out there. Xavier Legette is probably a guy that you can probably go get for really cheap. He might even be out on waivers. In 10-team leagues, he definitely is. 12, maybe not, but I think you can probably get him. He did have a huge boom week this last week. But it's really what is this team? What is this team really? Who's going to be out there? And Bryce is hurt now, but somebody's going to be out there throwing, right? Andy Dalton. And Andy Dalton's going to be looking for guys that whoever catches the ball is going to be who he's looking for. But I think this week you're going to see a lot of the backfield, right, on that team. But Xavier Legette's kind of somebody I would want to go at. Tez Johnson is another guy that I'm looking at, especially with Mike Evans going down. Shout out to Mike Evans, man. I think this is the year where the cliff has finally found him. But Tez Johnson, man, he legit stepped in. He had a ton of targets, and he did a lot with those targets. So Tez is another guy that I would be looking at. Cade Otton's another guy that you can go grab just because of these He's been a really good guy in the end zone, in the red zone. Getting a lot of these random targets. Obviously, Baker Mayfield this last week didn't look great, but whoever's open, he's going to be throwing to. And I think, Caden's going to be a guy like that. Aronde Gradson is another guy you can go out there and grab if you need a tight end. You can probably get him really, really cheap.
Yeah, I mean,
it explode this week, right? He had a huge week. Absolutely. I think it was like 27 points or something crazy. 169, or it was like 160 plus yards. A touchdown. It was a huge week, but those are kind of some guys I'm kind of looking at that are a little bit more deep. I'm trying to think of a running back that might be out there. Oh, Brashard Smith.
Okay.
If you want to target him, he's kind of somebody that me and Joe, my guy Joe, who does work for us over at the Sports Affiliation, him and I were kind of talking about Brashard Smith and before the season started. He looked like somebody who could be really, really fun in that backfield. Somebody who could catch the ball out of the backfield. But now they kind of got Rice back, and he kind of does stuff like that. But Brashard, he did flash this week. He got a lot of, he got into the end zone, I believe. But he put up like 13 points, for a third. So if any one of them goes down, and we know Pacheco can get hurt, we know Kareem Hunt can get hurt. So, Brashard Smith's another guy you can kind of just throw at the end of your bench and hope that he kind of gets in there.
Catches fire, right? And that's the thing. Yeah, we mentioned, you just brought up Aronde Gadsden, who tight end for the Chargers, who honestly the last couple of weeks been very productive. Yeah. Obviously, he just had that breakout week this past week, but averaging in the last 2 weeks, 8 targets each of the last 2 weeks, 7 catches. I mean, that right there, forget about the yards afterwards, but that right there, he's being heavily involved. So you are hitting the nail on the head on that one. That is definitely it could possibly be a gem for someone looking for tight end help.
Yep.
That brings us to what happens now, right? When you play fantasy football, you might have a great team. You're pretty set at this point. You kind of know, and you have a feel for your roster. I don't. Some people are like, we're pretty comfortable. I don't really have to make too many transactions at this point. I'm good with the rest of the season. But others, on the other hand, might be struggling a little bit. Might be looking for some answers because obviously we mentioned injuries earlier in the show, but also bye weeks happen in fantasy football. So this is a critical mid-season. I like to call it mid-season crisis for some people. And with some of these struggling fantasy teams out there, is there any kind of advice that you could give them, whether it be player additions? I know you mentioned already a few, but or possible trades that
I can kind of talk about. So we do it's kind of like an analyst league that we do just for the Sports Affiliation, and we have a couple of listeners that join us too. But we had a couple of trades go down on there that were, some people were questioning them, but the reason that these trades went down, right? So we had a guy in there that was 0-5, and he had to make it. He had to make a trade, and he had some good players on his team. He just had some injuries, and he had no quarterbacks that weren't on his team that weren't doing well. He had Geno Smith, and I can't remember the other quarterback he had. He was either injured or it might have been Fields, but it was just, there were guys that just were not doing anything for him on our team. In this league, we have crazy scoring points. It's kind of like a little bit of Scott Fishbowl, and then we also get like first down points. But obviously you get subtracted points if your quarterback's doing, terrible. So he made some moves. He had Jonathan Taylor and Quinshon Judkins on his team, but he moved both of those players. And he ended up getting some depth on his team. So he ended up getting Rico Dowdle in one of the trades, and Shaheed, and what was it? Taylor, or who was it? Can't remember the other one, but he ended up getting in another trade. He ended up getting Aaron Rodgers and another running back. I can't remember, but now he's won back-to-back weeks. With those two trades, he's won. Now he was the third highest scorer in our league this past week. So with those trades that he made, he might have lost some 2 players that are consistently scoring, but he grabbed a quarterback that he needed. He grabbed some depth at positions that he didn't have. And the first week that he made the trade, yeah, it kind of looked bad, but it also helped him fill places that he had on his team that there was players he didn't want to drop on his team, and he was able to make this trade to where he could drop certain players he wanted to get grabbed, but there was nobody out there on the waiver wires that are going to be able to fill positions on his team. So it was like a life or death kind of trade that he made, and it gave him life. So sometimes the trade might not look good right away. And I try to tell people this too. Don't judge trades right away. You don't know how a trade is. You can actually, in Dynasty, you can look a year down the road and be like, why the hell did I make that trade?
Right.
And it was really great at first, and now it's terrible.
Yeah.
Right. You never know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Right. Those players that you traded for, maybe because I had a guy who made a trade in the league. He traded for Saquon this week. And how did that help him?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Mhm.
You could be trading for big player names, right? And you think something can happen, and maybe nothing happens. So, like I said, if a trade you think maybe not great, look deeper down the road. Or even look right now. Is this going to help you right now? Is this going to help you next week? If you can get those next couple of wins, maybe something else happens for you. Maybe somebody on your team kind of comes back, or maybe something on the waiver wire opens up for you. Sometimes you have to just make some moves, even if it hurts, even if it's a big player name. Just make the move. If otherwise you're giving up, and your player is just going to sit on your team anyways and do nothing. So if you want to play, this is a game, so you have to make moves to continue to play the game. And like with what we've talked about this year, it's been so crazy. You can't give up.
Yeah,
you have to dig deep and try to find something, even if it's like little things you can find later. Like, look. You can even find, all right, if I can get out of the hole and get a couple wins this week, what are some players that I can look for deeper later that are going to help me in bye weeks? Because you have to, now that you're so 2-4, 2-5. What are we, week 8, 2-5? So if you're 2-5 and you have to go in and get a couple more wins, you can't miss those bye weeks. You have to have players to fill in those weeks. You can't have any struggles. You have to be great every single week. And you have to, another thing too is, you got to really do well on your percentage of start percentage. You have to be very well at knowing what players to start that week. And I think a good thing to kind of look up is matchups, or, even weather or inside games, stuff like that. You got to look and see, or even if like a player's out, right? I thought that, with Brian Branch being out this week, that a lot, Detroit might look bad, and, they came together and they looked really good. So I don't know. You have to kind of look at things. Even if you can find players, right? If an injury happens, try to find a player that fills in, or maybe it's going to affect, like if Justin Jefferson had to go up against, a backup, cornerback, like that's a good matchup, right? Or if you find a guy on the team, Jordan Addison's been a player that, kind of has come through, and people were kind of off of him because, in the beginning of the year, he was, not playing, and immediately steps in, and he could be a wide receiver 1 on the team. But if my highest suggestion is just try to make some trades, make some moves, anything, even if it hurts a little bit, try to find players or depth that can help your team continue to grow, or look for matchups that are coming up that would help those players that you're trading for, do well those weeks,
Yeah. Excellent. That's excellent advice for sure. You think about, like you just brought up, Jordan Addison. I actually traded for Jordan Addison probably 2 weeks ago.
Nice,
in preparation of him returning and probably having a larger role on Minnesota. Guy's electric and showed up for me this week, baby. Let me tell you what. So pretty stoked about that. And you're right. I guess like moral of the story is don't be afraid for change. Don't be afraid to make a trade that might benefit your team. It might not look sexy in the beginning, like, oh, I'm giving away these 2 really good high-end players. But you're getting in return depth, and you're getting points from every one of those pieces to maybe perhaps help you win.
Yeah, and I totally see that too. Again, when you're sitting there and you're already losing a few weeks, and you're like, man, I got to do something, but you're just holding on to those guys, you got to make something happen. Like JC said too, look ahead, look at the matchups ahead, say, well, I'm looking for the future here. I can win the next couple here. And it doesn't look good right now, but I got nothing to lose right now either. And I'm not winning right now. So let's do it. And I think a lot of people are also, afraid to do those trades to where it's like multiple positions for another position. Like, hey, I'll throw this one running back out here if you give me these two wide receivers or this and this. And people kind of shy away from that a lot. They're like, well, I don't know about that. What would you just say to somebody like that all of a sudden is afraid, like, well, you're only giving me one player, I'll give you two of mine, so I don't get that. And
I say the one thing is like superstars. You got to stop. Sometimes you got to not look at names. There are opportunities. You could find opportunities like players like we were just talking about, like Tez Johnson. He's literally going to go into an opportunity, and you could throw him that in a trade, right? If you have a big player, get a mid, like if you're trading away a wide receiver 1, try to get a higher tier wide receiver 2, and then like a Tez, like somebody in there that is probably going to give you easy flex every single week to low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 every single week. Just because of the amount of opportunities he's going to have now with, Mike Evans being out. He's now that guy. I feel like he's definitely him. You can find these even like you're talking about Gratz, and he's nobody's really. I mean, he had a one pop off week, right? But is that going to happen again? Is Quentin Johnson going to step back up? You could even be trading for someone like that. I wouldn't, but I'd be trying to trade someone like that away right now. I mean, he had a couple bad weeks, but you can look back and be, he's just having, he's a little banged up right now. He's going to have these big weeks again. You can kind of go out there and smooth talk a little bit, gaslight a little bit, right? You can do that a little bit, but use it to your advantage, man. If you need to get a trade done.
Excellent. Yes.
You have to make moves right now. If you're down, you have to do whatever you can. You gotta make some moves to try to get a win, because you just
excellent.
need that momentum.
Great advice, JC. I got one other thing before we let you go. You kind of touched on it a little bit earlier in the show, but setting your lineup. I know for a lot of people, even like now, like even for me, sometimes I just overthink things. Sometimes I'm like, well, the matchup, the defense is ranked 32nd, but this quarterback isn't that great. But I have another quarterback that is like facing like the Niners, who are kind of like mid-tier defense. Like, what do I do? Do I go with the better matchup, or do I go with the higher end player? Sometimes people struggle with that. And week to week, is there any advice that you could give them, or have them go to a certain destination, wink, wink, that they could go for some help with their lineups?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you some little advice. This affected me this week, and I'm sure it affected a lot of people this week. George Kittle, right? Everyone thought a little bit, George Kittle coming up the injury. I don't think a lot of people were really worried about that. Mac Jones has been throwing the ball to like whoever could get open. I mean, it's just been like a feeding frenzy, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We got nothing. George Kittle gave us absolutely nothing. I'm gonna tell you right now, I took Kittle out because I was like, Kittle's about to have a massive week. He's gonna be ready to come back, have some fun. He's gonna put some points. I took out Swift, right? Swift had a huge game, and Kittle got me 0, and I ended up losing the week because I was like, I'm excited for this. Stick to what's working right now.
Right.
You saw what worked last week. Kittle wasn't playing last week. Swift was doing good last week. He was being consistent. To me, it's don't get excited about stuff. If something is already working for you, stick to that. Unless, if you have players, like if you have 2 quarterbacks and you're on a 1 quarterback league or something, and you're like, I'm deciding between 2 of these guys, and they're like, a coin flip, then just pick the guy you want to watch play at that point.
Gotcha.
But if you're looking for like upside players and stuff like that, then you definitely want to look for matchup opportunities. One opportunity this week that really killed us though, and everybody, was Luke McCaffrey. Everybody was looking for there was so much opportunity for him. What happened? Nothing. You got a big goose egg. So I mean, sometimes you swing and miss. It happens, right? You're taking a chance on something, right? Especially in bye weeks, you're trying to find a guy out there that could potentially help you, and you might miss, right? I mean, that's something that everybody probably missed on this week, because the opportunity was there. There was so much opportunity for him to be explosive, and we got nothing. But my best, I guess I would say, don't overthink things. If you're overthinking things, you're going to make mistakes, and that's what I did this week. I got excited about a player coming back, and I already have, I have
Mm.
Tucker Kraft on my team. I'm like, why would I play another tight end?
Yeah.
Why? Because I got
Yeah.
greedy and I was like excited.
Yeah.
And I just
Mhm.
stuck to my guns, and just play a running back. They're gonna get touches more than the tight end's gonna be. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
I'm right there
play
with
your
you.
guy.
You're feeling it, man. Feeling it.
Yeah, I'm right there with
and I would
you.
say, we have a lot of guys over at the Sports Affiliation, sportsaffiliation.com. So go check that out. Check out the website. We got some really good data over there. If you're looking for like in-depth data stuff, we have our guy, the professor, John Bush. He does some lot of data stuff. He looks at a lot of the Vegas, what they've got, for all their sports book stuff. He takes all that and takes the analytics for that, and he basically puts it out into these charts, and it kind of helps you. It even kind of gives you a way to look at things like for even fantasy, to where like these are good matchups, these are bad matchups, this is going to be the high scoring games or the low scoring games of the week. So it kind of gives you a little bit of everything. We also do IDP. So if anybody out there does, individual defensive players, which is like crazy fun to do. Because you get some big plays from a lot of these defensive players, and like Micah Parsons finally had a huge game, 3 sacks in the game, and he's just been struggle bus.
Yeah.
But it's a fun one. So we got Mace Riney, he works for us as well, and he's got a article for this week for any of the bye week stuff. So there's a lot of people over at the Sports Affiliation that do some writing for us, and then all week, man, we've got our YouTube, man. We've got pretty much every single day of the week, we've got some YouTube stuff going on. Tonight we even had 2 shows on Tuesdays. Thursdays, sometimes we do watch parties. We got Greg Kellogg that pops on. Tip Major comes on sometimes too as well on Thursdays to do a Thursday check down with Rick Bruce Wellis. Wednesday nights, man. So I'm wearing this shirt. So this is my support for women in the industry. So the Game Changers is Carla. So Carla, she does our show on Wednesdays, and it's basically she does interviews for like some of the huge, heavy hitters in the industry, even some younger cats getting in. But it's just kind of digging deep in who these people are, where they came from, why they're in the industry, why they do what they do. So it's kind of every single week we kind of get somebody new, and it just gives people an opportunity to jump in the chat and kind of talk to people that they might not get an opportunity to talk to. And she also does, she does a Zumba class, or not a class, but a show on Fridays, which is just kind of fun. And she talks to people in the industry for that. She's top notch.
Yeah.
We're lucky to have her as well. So I mean, like, throughout the week, man, we always got something going on. Friday nights, we got Rick Avery too. He does DFS stuff. So if anybody's kind of interested in that, he does all that stuff for charity. He does a 1v1 versus somebody in the industry, and they kind of do it for charity.
Oh, nice.
So we kind of have a little bit of everything. Tip Major on Sundays comes on for like 15 minutes and does it's called Fantasy Nuggets on Sunday. It's before the night game. It's just a fun little show. So most of our shows are live. But we have a really, really fun show that we do that drops on Thursday morning, or it's like around noon. We cover the NFC North. It's called the Black and Blue Fantasy Football Preview Show. So it's like a little bit of, it's 4 of us analysts. So it's myself, Iggy. So I cover the Vikings. Iggy covers the Packers. Greg Kellogg covers the Lions, and then we got Andy Behrens that covers the Bears. So it's kind of just fun. 15 to 20 minute little segment. Each of us, talk about, 2 to 5 minutes about our team, things that are going to be happening the week or week before. We'll cover about the week before, then this week's maybe we'll throw in some fantasy, insight for players, and then maybe a bet or something like that. So it's kind of interesting, man. There's a lot that goes on with the Sports Affiliation, and I'm lucky to have a lot of really good people that work for me. So there's a lot of data coming out. Anything you're looking for, I'm sure that it's on the website or on the YouTube. So check us out, get subscribed, check out the website. It's good stuff, man.
Absolutely. JC, hey, we talked to Iggy, we talked to Greg about in the fantasy football convention, right? That happens every year. It gets together. It's a lot of fun. They're saying we got to try and check it out one of these years. But there's a football game that goes on there, right? And I think Iggy has said something like he's gotten involved in the game and he got leveled by like Des Bryant or something like that.
They don't do it anymore. I think it's for like liability stuff, but we used to do it. Yeah, it was a good time. The first year we went, which was think was after COVID 2021, I think.
Mhm.
We let us on the actual field where they do the Hall of Fame game, so that was kind of
Mhm.
fun. We
Nice.
That's wild.
but then the next year they had it like they have like a dome, the little air dome, and they had turf in
Yeah.
there. And that was the
Mhm.
year that Des Bryant showed up. But yeah, he tackled some kid. It was flag football, but you know,
Yeah,
Iggy, and he gets into it. He dislocated his finger, and you know,
Oh.
Jesse Morris put it back in place. So
Oh, man. Oh, well, that's
yeah, I
sad
mean,
that
it's
they don't do
yeah,
it anymore. I mean, come
it's
on.
a good time, man. Y'all got to get out next year. I mean, it's if you want to meet people in the industry and talk to me, just to talk to anybody. I mean, you can
Yeah.
pretty much talk to whoever you want to talk to there. It's a good time, man. I get there on Thursday, leave Monday morning, but it's a good time, man.
Awesome.
You'll see the other side of people, and you know you'll learn a lot about everybody, and you'll kind of develop a little bit of a relationship with people, and it kind of helps you out, you know, in these situations too. You know, when you're
Yeah.
like, hey, you want to talk to some friends, you get some people
Mhm.
on your show. You know, it's always nice to know a little bit somebody in the industry, and that's kind of I'm going to tell you guys that too. You know, that's a little bit what the Sports Affiliation does. Is, you know, we are kind of a stepping stone. We kind of help people. You give a platform to people to, you know, jump on anybody that wants to like write or do a podcast, or you know, do some shorts or learn how to do anything like that, video editing. You know, we kind of help people
Cool.
get into the industry and just, hey, you want to, you know, you want to write or you want to do a show, you know, we'll show you how. We have an area for you to do that, and you know, we pay for all that stuff. So like, you know, that's kind of what we do. So we're always looking for people to jump in, you know. It's you know, we're a positive community, and we just like to help people, you know, grow in the industry, and that's what we do. So
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
fun,
That's
man.
right. JC,
A lot
JC
of
Money
fun.
Design on X. That's right. Follow him there. Then also he's CEO at the Sports Affiliation. Thank you so much for joining us, talking some fantasy. Before we go, actually, one more time though, too. I gotta ask you, because you're a Minnesota Vikings fan here too. What's your take so far on JJ McCarthy?
Dale,
Yeah.
I'm not kidding, man. So you can go. I want you to go check. I'll send you the link for week one. After week one, how hyped I was on JJ McCarthy, and then in
Yeah.
week two, and then you can watch week two and
We contrast.
how it was a complete different. It was basically, you know, my chest was puffed out after week one, and then it completely deflated after week two, and then I don't know why they went out and got Wentz. I think that was the worst idea they ever could have done. He underthrows or overthrows. I mean, there's no in between. It's been. And I like Max, the guy they have the third stringer. I mean, if you're in
Mhm.
for leagues and dynasty, I would go
Yeah.
get him. I think he just needs to be developed a little bit, but he's on the right team to do that. And he's from Minnesota. He played on the Gophers. Max, I think it's Brosmer.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
He's got an arm, man. He can throw the ball. He just needs to be developed. I'm worried about JJ, man. He's injury prone. I'm gonna call him that now. That's back-to-back years with an injury
Yeah.
already. One of them who
Mhm.
took you out for a full year. I don't know, man. If he doesn't play this week,
Mhm.
I don't know how you can play him after. You know,
Mm.
you have to get him in there. Like you have to know if this is the guy. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
I'm worried. If you
Yeah.
have if he's somebody I'm okay missing on. If you have somebody out there that is like hyped about him, and you know right now is, you know, when you can get rid of him. If he doesn't do anything when he comes back, you're stuck with him.
Mhm.
Right.
So if you
Yeah.
can get something for him, I'm not afraid to miss on him.
Wow.
So
Mhm.
if you can get rid of him for something, I'm okay with that. And that's somebody from a Vikings fan. Greg Kellogg, who's a Michigan fan, would tell you differently
Yeah.
because he was the best thing ever to happen to Michigan, and he didn't even throw the ball. So there's that. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just a little bit worried. Our offensive line isn't built for somebody who's going to stand back there and wait to throw the ball.
Mhm.
So
True.
I agree. Yep, yep. I know. I figured, hey,
I'm calling for Marcus Mariota, dude. I'm calling
There you
for
go.
Marcus
there you
Mariota. That's
go.
what I want in Minnesota next year. Just a 1-year deal for Mariota. Let him get on his feet. He looked fun,
Do
man,
it.
Yeah.
this year when he played.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely surprised me this year, filling in sometime for JD Daniels. So, yeah, hey, did the fans tell you the truth though? That's why I had to go and ask JC right here though too. I mean, that's what I mean. You know your team, you got to hear it from them, and that's what I'm talking about.
Hey, some other
Here,
people would
so.
tell you differently. I'm just,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
I'm very honest about my team. I'm not from here, so I'm a little bit more, I get hyped, I get excited. I'm not
Drinking
gonna lie, I
Kool-Aid.
get a little excited, but I still get, we still got to remember, we don't have any trophies, so there's that.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Thank you, JC, Money Design at X. That's right. Sports Affiliation. Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate y'all having me on.
All right. No
See you,
problem. Take
JC.
care. Yeah. JC right there. Sports Affiliation. Yeah, Joe. Fantasy football talk. Fantasy's getting crazy right now too, Joe, with the different injuries that are going on. You get different starting quarterback every single week, right? Too. I mean, injuries at quarterbacks. Look at how many backups are now starters, right? And then how many quarterbacks that seemed like failed quarterbacks for other organizations are starting for other teams right now. So, I mean, this is a weird season, something I have never seen before.
It's very weird, and it's also interesting too because, like, you think about a guy like Sam Darnold, right? Uh, Not a lot of people were like super high on him, even though he had that good year with Minnesota. He goes to Seattle, and some people, like me included, I was a little skeptical. Like, I wasn't sure going to a new team, learning a new offense, how fast he could develop chemistry and understand the playbook and all the nuances of playing quarterback and how well he would play, but he's killing it right now in fantasy. But and then you also have guys like you mentioned that were bench players before and then became starters and now are killing it. Think of Jackson Dart, perfect. Um, I This year in one of my leagues, I typically don't go high on quarterback ever. But this year was one of those years in one of my leagues where I kind of picked quarterback a little bit earlier. And then in the other league, I was the contrast of that, where I waited for quarterback. And I waited and waited, and I took Drake May, right? So in the
Mhm.
beginning of the season, the first week or so, it really didn't look good. And I'm just like, oh man, I can't. I made the mistake of cutting him. I did. I
Mhm.
cut Drake May,
Mhm.
and now I'm kicking myself because now you see him starting to take off. But the luxury is the fact that I got Jackson Dart, and Jackson Dart has lit it up in fantasy for me, and is now my starter going forward. And this is a guy that can kill you with his legs, can also throw the football. So you got both sides of that in fantasy. So yeah, there's very different scenarios with the quarterbacks and even other positions too. We just talked to JC and he brought up Tez Johnson. Now Tez Johnson was buried on the depth chart before the season even started,
Yeah.
obviously. But with injuries to Chris Godwin, yet again, even after he returned, he got injured again. Now he's
Mhm.
out. Emeka Ibuka was out for a week or 2, and then Mike Evans, that poor
Oh,
dude is now done for the year.
done.
So
Right?
if you're looking to this is where you have to jump at the opportunity for some of these opportunistic players that are going to get it, and maybe they take off. You don't know if they're going to, but you got to roll the dice. And Tez Johnson right now is that golden ticket for some people.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. So again, another crazy week. Week 7 has been flipped upside down
Jesus.
again. You know what I mean? Last week we thought we knew what somebody
No,
was again.
no,
This week it's
of
flipped
course not.
upside down. It's the opposite again. Down is up, up is down. But the Chiefs continue to win now again. And this is what's crazy again. Now they're in the thick of things. No
Yeah.
team in that division has tried to really step up to kind of make themselves known. Except for now with the debacle that happened with the New York Football Giants here, allowing the Denver Broncos to come back, 33 points in
Oh,
the fourth
jeez.
quarter. I don't want to talk about that right now tonight. I'll save that
I
for a
know
different
you
time
don't.
for my therapist. I swear there's only coffee in here right now. There should be something else,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just crazy. The Chiefs are rolling again now too, Joe. But let's talk about some of the seats that are heating up before we get to the Raiders. We're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins, right?
Yes,
Um,
sir. Before we
they
get Hold
have
on real
looked
quick.
putrid.
Before we
Yes.
get dive into this real quick,
Yes. What do we got?
JC, if you missed him on our show, fantasy football guru, this dude was awesome on our show earlier. If you missed the interview, you need to go back when we post this video, make sure you check it out. We got some great fantasy football advice from JC. And he just commented, said, "Appreciate you all for having me on. We appreciate you, JC. We thank you very much for coming on the show." But yeah, that was a lot of fun. We'll definitely do that again.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Yep. JC, thank you so much. Yeah. So Miami Dolphins, again, I thought they were going to take a downturn a little bit this year, but play better than what they're doing right now. And with everything that's been going down with what Tua's saying on the podium, then what Mike McDaniels is saying back on the podium, back and forth, it is ridiculous. You know, when you see it down on the field too, we talked about the lack of defense, how they're, playing stuff. It's not good, but they're even banged up there. The team is just taking way too many penalties. They had 11 against the Browns here last game here. So, and that just kills drives. You know what I mean? So you're killing drives and then the turnovers. Tua, he's thrown 3 interceptions in consecutive games. So 6 in the past 2. It's ridiculous. At this point, Mike McDaniels has shown that he's not the right coach for this team. It looks to me as if the players have quit on their coach. Their quarterback's thrown to 3 interceptions in consecutive games and has a low touchdown to interception ratio this season. Mike McDaniel even looks disinterested on the sidelines as well, sitting there looking like the Unabomber out there. Look at this, Joe. I mean, the comparison is ridiculous. So what do the Miami Dolphins do? They're saying they're sticking behind this guy, but for how long can you do this?
Well, honestly, with this is a very unique situation too, because you look at the overall record that Mike McDaniels has with the Miami Dolphins. It's 29-29. It's 500. So it's not like this guy, has won more games than lost. So there you have that, the record that he holds now with Miami, but also 2 postseason losses. So they've made the wild card round in 22 and 23 and lost both. So, and this is a guy that everybody foresaw as a offensive-minded guru, a guy who's very creative, and we've seen that on the football field. We've seen that he does have creativeness. He orchestrates the offense extremely well, calls the game pretty well. But then you got to look backwards, right, and work our way up to now. In 23, the offense was historic, leading the NFL in total yards, in points per games, averaging 31.7 points. And then you look at like 23-24, ranked as high as second overall with offense. And then you look into 25, the current situation now that we're facing in this current season, the rankings have dropped significantly. As of week 7, the Dolphins ranked 23rd in offense in impact metrics, despite having the second highest yards before contact per carry. So that right there tells you that there's been a decline in not just offensive prowess from when he first stepped on the scene, but then as in the last, this season, including the past couple, there's been a decline in production. And now everybody's got to blame the head coach, right? I mean, that's the leader. So that's what you go to. And here's the thing. I will throw this little nugget in there too, is the fact that Mike McDaniels has Tua as a quarterback. He's been working with him, and the offense was killing it the first 2 seasons that he was there. But here's the problem, and this is where I think it's not as much Mike McDaniels, but it's more about the quarterback, because they played really well when they're healthy, right? You look at that 23, that 24 season, how their offense was impeccable. They made it work because of health. Now you look at this team right now, currently, this team is decimated by injuries. And I know everyone's like, well, you got to overcome those. Yeah, but if they're key injuries and your quarterback is declining right before your eyes, there's not a whole lot this man can do. I mean, he just doesn't have an answer for it. And you have a terrible offensive line. It's also beaten up. So, you don't have much protection. You don't have much, run, opening up holes for the running game. And then your weapons, Tyreek Hill goes down. One of your biggest weapons that you like to utilize is now gone and done for the season. You're leaning on Jalen Waddle, but Jalen Waddle is having trouble getting open because he's being double teamed every week. And who can you turn to? A tight end by the name of Darren Waller, who just came out of retirement. Now he's banged up again. He's going to be missing time. So it's almost like this season for Mike McDaniels was done before it started. So as much as like the finger pointing, yes, it does go to the leadership. It goes towards Mike McDaniels. I'll argue this, that if he had a healthy Miami football team, I'm pretty sure that this guy would have made this team a competitor for this division. But unfortunately, it's going the other way.
Well, I mean, I understand that too as well, but again, it seems like maybe him coming out onto the podium and calling players out too, and lack of effort, I think is almost had not only, when I talked about the players seem disinterested, they're losing hope in him. You can't be sitting there talking about you got to play better, and you got to do that, and you got to show up and work hard and be out there and throwing picks nonstop. Give the game in when the ball's on your side of the field, and throwing turnovers there to where they're scoring easily right back on them and putting the game at out of reach, basically, where you can't come back from those turnovers. And I think when you talk about when Mike McDaniels early on with Tua and being tied to him there and making him be a better quarterback, that's when things were good. But right now, since this has kind of happened and he's been outspoken, now you see again Mike McDaniel coming back and saying, well, if you turn the ball over that many times, you're going to lose and you're going to do this. So he's not afraid to say that back at Tua and almost cut ties with him to where now you bench him, you put in Quinn Ewers. Now, what do you do? I mean, most people would say, yeah, you're just going to start Tua again next week and stuff, because he probably gives you still the better option to move forward to win. Yeah. But if people are even talking about, especially fans, on how bad this team looks, where this team is going moving forward, we should get rid of Mike McDaniels. Does he pull the trigger and put in Quinn Ewers and just move forward, say, all right, well, this is what I'm going to do?
No, Quinn Ewers, it was already shown. He's not ready. He's not even close to being ready. He threw a pick himself, and he doesn't even have that many snaps under his belt. So, yeah. I mean, you're talking about a rookie who just simply isn't developed yet. And honestly, I don't foresee him ever being a starter. So, you missed on him by obviously they took him way late on day 3. So there's really not that much investment in him. So it's no big deal. But again, Tua does give you the best chance to win games. He's done it before. It's just this organization, this team right now is so beat up, and they're missing so many key talented positions in the starting lineup that it's hard to overcome. Like, I mean, everybody's going to blame Mike McDaniels, but at the same time, like, he's right. And honestly, I'm okay with them speaking up saying, we got to play better. I mean, because he's just spitting facts. That's really what it comes down to is, listen, he's holding his team accountable and they're making mistakes on the football field. So guess what, guys? We're not going to win. It's just that simple. It's
yeah. And let me tell you, looking at their schedule moving forward, I really only see them winning 2 more games. So,
and that might
they've got a lot of tough games more, but who knows? Yeah.
And that might be true because of what the team they have to work with currently.
And yeah, like you said, I mean, to make the switch doesn't make sense too, because even financially they're tied to Tua even right now. What are you going to do? It's not like you can exactly trade him away. You got the money that's owed, but then also your value's not there. People know about the concussions. He's not playing well right now, so there is no value at all. So you're kind of stuck in this situation going forward.
Nobody's going to trade for Tua if that's the case. And secondly, they're going to have to look towards the draft. This upcoming draft, they're going to have to try to find the next man to step in at that quarterback position to lead the charge, because it's not going to be Tua. I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
They've already have made their decision that he is not their guy for the foreseeable future, and that they are going to find a way, whether he is there next year as a backup or maybe they cut him, whatever the case may be, but they are going to move on.
Yeah, so we'll see in the next couple of weeks again how they handle the situation, and then also if we start seeing a fire sale, start seeing trades happen, unload some people. I know Phillips has been a name out there. Chubb's been a name out there. Judon's been a name out there. We'll see what happens with Miami moving forward. But
Fire sale
again, Miami Heat. That's right. Here we go. So let's get to your team, Joe, the Raiders. We don't talk a lot about the Raiders that much often.
Yeah, because they suck.
I know, right? But I think after watching that game, man, and I did watch a lot of that game.
Watch that game.
It was, I felt for you, Joe. I mean, it was tough because I'm just watching. I'm like, man,
it's not watchable.
It's just not good on all accounts. And again, it's one of those games too where I just felt bad for Max Crosby. You know what I mean? Because he gives his heart and soul every freaking down for everything. Yep. And you also got, kind of like, for what? Like, what the frig are these guys doing here? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, has the game passed Pete Carroll? Is it, what's going on? What's your take on your Raiders right now?
So, I mean, and that's the thing, Jim, is like you say that they struggle on every facet of the game, and that's true. And this has kind of been the thing, probably maybe after week 2 or 3 is when the offense started to really struggle, and Geno Smith really struggling. He's got the most interceptions in the NFL currently. And you can't win games when you turn the ball over. We just talked about the Miami Dolphins and how, hey, if you keep turning the ball over, yeah, we're not going to win. Well, guess what? There's no winning happening in Vegas either. And Pete Carroll, like being a 74-year-old coach, the oldest coach in NFL history now, take that for what you will, but it seems like the game has passed him. It seems like when you look at his coaching staff currently, at least half of it is old, retreaded Seattle Seahawks, staff members that were coaching with him from before, from the glory days of Seattle. And he just brought them back with him to say, "Hey guys, come back. Let's coach together again." Yeah, he kept a select few of current coaches that the Raiders already had, one being Joe Philbin and obviously, Patrick Graham, the D coordinator. But again, he's had his Seattle influence now, but it's a old way of thinking. It's not the new age. It's not the modern NFL. So, yeah, maybe he is a little bit behind. And you look at the offense, he brought in Chip Kelly, right? From the Ohio State Buckeyes, a guy who has definitely had experience with the Philadelphia Eagles and being kind of like a creative offensive minded guy, was driven out of the NFL, rightfully so, because he was struggling. Started to learn in college football, like, hey, I got to be able to work with the players and not try to make the players fit my offense. He's had that mentality now, comes back to the NFL, and not much has changed, honestly, because I don't blame Chip Kelly, and I know he's working with, peanuts here because of lack of talent that the Raiders have. 3 out of the 5 starting offensive linemen that they have, they definitely need upgrades on. Yeah. And the offensive struggles due to the lack of talent in those positions. Also, Geno Smith, who they traded a 3rd-round pick for, he's playing like ass.
Yeah.
He's, and when you're desperate for upgrades with this O-line and, you're not going anywhere. You're not being able to put up points now. Like, look how much they struggled against Kansas City. I know Kansas City's a much better team, but they couldn't even score a field goal.
No,
for God's sake.
Nothing.
So when you have that equation on offense, and then you look at the defense, which a lot of people around league circles, I don't understand why, but a lot of people highly respect Patrick Graham, and they think that he is one of the most brightest defensive minds out there. Well, riddle me this. In 2023, the team showed significant improvement under him. They ranked 9th in scoring defense. That's pretty good, right? When he first stepped on the scene. In 24, that's when it started to fall apart. In 24, the defense finished 25th in scoring defense, largely due to a high number of season-ending injuries from key players like Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. However, those were 2 key players, but everybody else is like, no one really knows who they are because they didn't have high-end talent. They had a couple of big-time guys, but that's it. And then currently now, the defense surprisingly ranks 11th. Passing yards allowed per game, they're 19th. Rushing yards allowed per game, they're 10th. And points allowed per game is 20 points. That's 13th. It's pretty much middle of the league. This is where stats to me don't matter because even though the stats sound good, they sound like they're competitive. But when you watch the football games, Patrick Graham plays this soft zone coverage, basically has all of his DBs off the receivers by 10 yards.
Mhm.
And on the snap, they drop back more. So what does that do? But just give the opposing offenses plenty 7 to 10-yard plays all day long, and then after the catch, if they break a tackle, it's more and maybe a touchdown. So
Yeah.
despite the stats, Jim, the defensive coordinator and Patrick Graham to me is a epic failure for yet another time for the Raiders. And the offensive struggles, I don't think it's really Chip Kelly's fault. It's more of the lack of talent that they still don't have. And this team is falling apart. And now I hear in the Las Vegas locker room
Mhm.
that the team has already started to turn against Pete Carroll and his coaching staff because does everybody know that Jermaine Pratt from the Cincinnati Bengals, they released him? The Raiders signed him. He ended up being their best linebacker, started for them, and then mystically all of a sudden got released because he spoke his mind in the locker room and
Mhm.
told them that they need to make better changes.
Yeah.
They didn't like being told that.
No,
So
no.
what? So of course he got released. And the locker room feeling was it was complete BS. They were so irate over that move that they're all upset. I think he's literally lost that whole entire locker room at this point, and there's no turning back.
Yeah, I know. And it I think nothing was more, you know, telling than that last game. You know what I mean? And like you said, it's like one of those things where stats lie, right? Because you talk about those great stats and they look there, but
Right.
the eye test, you see the eye test, you're watching it and you're
Yeah.
just looking at this defense. And I'm like, what the hell are they doing out there? And I'm like, and this is what Joe's been talking about again. And Patrick Graham, I remember him when he was a defensive coordinator for the New
Yeah.
York Giants, and he was okay then. But again, we've been looking and watching this defense kind of ride a roller coaster. It's like up and down, up and down. And this year, again, despite the stats in that game, just couldn't do anything right at all. It was terrible. Couldn't stop the run. Get like so again, soft zone, which plays right into the Kansas City Chiefs offense.
Yep.
Poor tackling, just giving up big plays, chunk plays too. You're just kind of
Mhm.
like, what are you guys doing? And I'm feeling
Yeah.
for it. And then I'm thinking, like, I almost just called you. I was like, listen, man, this is the week. This is the week Patrick Graham goes, man. It's gotta be because
Here's the
I'm
crazy
seeing
thing.
it right here. I know Raiders fans have got to be
Yeah.
asking for this. So
Here's the absolute crazy thing is that they have a bye week.
yeah,
There This is where major changes need to be made.
right.
And I understand for some of the people out there be like, "Well, you can't just fire the guy because you just hired him." I understand that. But
Technically
there
not though.
has I
Well,
understand
I
it.
mean, Pete
But
Carroll, yeah.
the thing is
Mhm,
because this
mhm,
organization, much like the Giants, have always been trying to find that next guy, have been trying to find the right coach, the right players, and they still struggle with it. And here's the thing is you had an opportunity to maybe go get more of a younger, more modern coach instead of Pete Carroll. Give someone else a shot that deserves it. Instead, you bring a retread coach who everybody was excited for, and I understand. Former Super Bowl champion coach, I get it. However, that doesn't always mean you're going to be a winning team. And right
mhm.
now, with the decisions that are being made by Pete Carroll, I don't even know how much John Spytek falls into this because
Right.
it might be another situation of like, Antonio Pierce and the GM that was there. Like, no one really knew who was the leader. I,
Mhm.
I I tend to think that this is all Pete Carroll's show. He has too much power, and Spytek is kind of like just doing what he's told. So this team overall is to me, it's just completely lost, and I think you need to make a major change, whether it be coaching, like just the assistant coaches, like coaching staff, something like fire
Yeah.
Patrick Graham on your bye week.
Yeah, yeah.
Give it to Rob
Right? That's
Leonard
what
to
I
be
feel like,
nice.
again, if you're afraid to just get, rid of Pete Carroll like that, I think, like you said, going into bye week, it's a perfect week to do something. Patrick
Yeah.
Graham in there. He's had enough excuses, right?
Mhm.
Get rid of him. See what happens. If that sparks something, see if that makes a difference. But like you said, also on the same, plateau where you're talking about, why going forward, would you entrust now your draft moving forward, because you're in between quarterbacks right now? You hired Geno Smith, got him as your bridge quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You expect now Carroll is going to come in here and be like, I'm going to pick my quarterback next year, and he's going to be great, and we're going to get, and I'm going to, get somebody. Chip Kelly's going to, bring him in and bring him up and show him the ropes, and it's going to be great. You really entrusted in that right now? Raiders fans, I don't think they do at all. So before the draft, you need to get somebody else in there that can get a quarterback, groom the quarterback, something fresh now. Why let it linger if you think it's bad now? But like I said, the first thing, at least, you have to get rid of Patrick Graham going into a bye week. It's a perfect time. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Get a week, get everybody refreshed and everything again, get a reset, and then move forward.
And don't stop there. You got two fat gerbil of linebackers that are slow and can't freaking move. You might as well change out linebackers as well. And then offensively, I would make some changes with the offensive line coach. And maybe not a lot of people know this, but guess what, everyone? It's Pete Carroll's son. It's Nolan Carroll, who's the offensive line coach.
What?
This is the same offensive line, personnel-wise, as last season. And last season, they were better. So you do the math. So because he hired his kids, and obviously he's not going to fire them, at least demote them. Put Joe Philbin, who's widely known as one of the best offensive line coaching minds, put him as the offensive line coach, put Nolan Carroll as the assistant O-line coach, and have him actually learn under a real NFL coach, because Nolan Carroll has no experience in the NFL.
Absolutely. So, all right, we'll see what happens here, Joe. We are staying close, putting our finger on the pulse on that one. If Pete Carroll even has a pulse out there still. I only know that he's breathing because he's chewing the gum still nonstop. It keeps wadding it in there more and more every time.
If anything else, he's the most energetic 74-year-old I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's true. That is true too. So that's it for the show tonight. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. Next week we're gonna be back with the roller coaster that is the NFL, the ups, the downs, the twirls, the spins, everything known to man. Who knows what's going to go on here too? The roller coaster that is the NFL. Hope you guys join us next time. Joe, if they don't know already, tell these people that are still listening here how to get more episodes of the Blindside Blitz and more episodes from Grumblings Media.
If you want more great NFL content, like obviously this show, and there's other podcasts as well, head over to Grumblings Media, hit that subscribe button for us while you're there. Also, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and tell a friend to tell a friend. That's it. Share it and spread the word. We'll see you guys in the next one.
All right. See you guys later.